Violence hard. It's really I had to quit because I had a shoulder injury, and you can't
do it with the shoulder.
Yeah, your posture gets really intense. It's a little hard on the body.
Then I guess you can pick up the cello, right? Really? That's
that's
one.
Probably heavy too.
Oh.
Yeah, but at least you don't have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to.
Or wait.
Have
Anyway,
a crooked neck.
You've done it. I actually haven't done it. I'm making it up.
You have a little rest.
There you go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we're here with my friend Kaila.
Anyway, who are we talking to, everyone? What's happening and why are we here today?
Licensed marriage and family therapist.
There you go.
LMFT.
Holy
You
smokes.
got it. That's it.
Proud owner of a brand new practice. You just
Yeah.
started
Congrats.
a practice.
Thank you. Pacific Coast Therapy.
Holy
Yep.
smokes.
I know. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. It's such a big deal.
It's really exciting. Yeah. And it's, this is like my baby, right?
What is it?
It's a business.
Mhm.
It is a
And
business.
now I'm in the business of being a business owner. Yeah.
Okay, so many things to unpack here.
Business
I
owner
just saw
slash
your
mental health
face
professional.
and your eyes just
I saw two paths in my mind. I saw the marriage and family therapist path, and then I saw the business owner
yeah.
path.
Yeah.
And you were asking me on the way over here, what are we like? What?
Yeah, what do you
How do you want
want?
to play this?
What do you want from me?
What
What
do
do
you
you
want
want from me?
I kind of asked him that.
Why have you called
Well,
me
the
here?
two roads have diverged in our carport.
Well, but it's actually kind of fitting because I've been listening to your podcast, and those are the roads that you cover. Like the paths that you cover is a lot of mental health and a lot of like leadership and how to support others and how to build people up, but then also like how to run a business. So
Perfect.
Well, how long? Have
I'm
you
at
been,
that intersection.
How long have you been doing the therapy side of things?
The therapy since
'Cause you've been practicing-
2015.
Right.
Yeah,
All right.
it's a long road.
I mean, I kind of wanted to have you on because I'm really proud of you, and
Thanks.
I was kind of curious. We should touch on therapy too, but I'm
Yeah.
kind of curious about how it worked. Like, when did you decide that you wanted to have your own practice, and then once you decided that, what does that look like? A lot of people listen to us, I think, because they have an idea that they want to execute, and that is something that's really powerful for me, is, empowering people to take those ideas, get them out of the idea phase and put them into reality. So I know that's a big question.
No,
but
it's a great question. And it's like, when does like from inception to reality, when does it start? And there's, I think as a person, sometimes you just are on this like linear path and you can only see, you have the blinders on and you can only see like, okay, this is now happening. And how did I get here? Right. You just turn around and you're like, wait, but now we're here and it's going and it happened. Okay, so to answer your question, I come from a family of like business owners, and my dad was an entrepreneur and he was a really important person for me in my life, and he passed away pretty recently, but he, I think he always was like encouraging me to be as, independent as I could be. Right. And I've always had that spirit of like wanting to be my own boss, do my own thing. But also I think what really speaks to me about your podcast and your work as well, just to kind of bring it back, is that you want to support other people, and that's a part of your mission. And that's what I want to do as well, is like, I'm really passionate about doing things the right way.
Right.
And helping people on both sides. So yes, of course, as a therapist, but also as a business owner, supporting up and coming therapists that are looking for a home, to work and to practice and to feel supported.
And then it's called Pacific Coast Therapy. When did you open?
Open July.
Okay, cool. So we're
Super
pretty
new.
fresh.
It's fresh. Yeah.
Really cool.
However, the clients that I have been working with, a lot of them have been with me for a few years.
Transferred over and just are with you properly.
Yes.
Okay, very cool. And you've been practicing in Santa Cruz the whole time?
Santa Cruz. No, I was actually, Santa Cruz and Los Gatos in Santa Clara County kind of. But then I also, the kind of beauty is with telehealth, you can see clients from anywhere in California because that's where my license is. So as long as you live in California, I can meet, like I have clients in LA, I have clients that live in the Bay Area, and it's really great.
That is really awesome.
Or clients that have moved away for college, and I can still see see them, even though they were here and then they left and went down south or something. I can still.
Was that always how it worked? Was through telehealth?
No, okay. It wasn't. It was all in person. And then with telehealth, it's kind of expanded the field, I think, of, and it's become people's norm is seeing their doctor, their, friends, their therapists, even online.
Yeah.
And it's really worked out. And there's no difference in outcomes of therapy.
Really?
And efficacy, yeah, it's just as effective.
That's
online.
actually really encouraging for anybody listening who would be like, oh, well, because I'm not going to be in person, it might not work as well.
Right.
It's a huge win.
It is.
Check it out.
It is
huge opportunity. Big believer in therapy.
Yeah,
gotta get over the
therapy
hump.
is amazing, but it's scary. It's scary for a lot of people. I think the first session is like the scariest, and then it's like, oh, okay, this therapist is a person. They're not judging. It's really amazing what people build up in their minds about what session is going to be like.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's at the end of the day, it's just a conversation.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I remember feeling the same way, like panicky going in, like what's
so anxious.
And
yeah.
I think some of that though is you recognizing that you've made a choice to go in and share stuff that you're not really comfortable sharing anywhere else. And you're like, okay, I'm about to go share this stuff. Even if you're not even telling yourself that, I think subconsciously you're like, I'm about to go do a thing. At least if you're going to be hopefully what I would consider like as open and honest as possible, because that's essentially what a therapist is there for, is for you to share the whole big picture, not just like what you want to share, hopefully. And I know you got to build that relationship, but I remember being like, why am I so about to have a panic attack going into something that's supposed to be anti-panic attack? And
well, I mean, it's, I think once you say the things that you've been thinking inside of yourself for so long and you finally say it, it makes it real and you can't turn back.
That's pretty, it's a good point.
Yeah, there's like that. And then there can be, after that session, there can be like buyer's remorse of like, oh, did I say too much? Did I share too, right? And it can, it's like I let it out of I opened Pandora's box and now it's all real. And so, yeah, there's definitely I think a balance when somebody first starts therapy. I like to say, commit to a month to a month and a half. That's like, you have to commit to that if you're serious about really wanting to go and you're thinking about going, it's really great to get the ball rolling, get that momentum. It starts to really sink in. Of course, if there's not like the right match with your therapist, you cannot hurt your therapist's feelings. Just ask for a different therapist or a different referral or whatever you need, because it's about you and you're spending the money. But if you do feel like it's a good fit, book those 4 sessions. Book those 6 sessions, because it makes all the difference. I always ask people when they come in, how many sessions have you done if they've said they've had therapy before? Because a lot of people say, oh yeah, I've been to therapy before, once like years ago. And I'll say, how many sessions did you do? 2. It didn't really work for me. And I'm like, well,
makes sense.
It didn't work for you because you didn't get to the point where the ball could get rolling.
It's a commitment for sure.
It is a commitment. And it's, for me too, I also want people to like me. And that's sometimes makes it really hard to share things that are, if you're sharing these things out in the normal world, there's that fear. If I say these things, people could think I'm a quote unquote bad person, or I don't know. Being judged is hard, mostly because I'm really, really hard on myself. So I have that default expectation that everyone else is going to be that hard on me too. And I have to share these things with this person that I don't really know yet. And
you don't know at all.
Have to get there.
And you're never really going to know your therapist.
I know.
That's actually an interesting thing, right? Because sometimes relationships feel like they're two-way, but in this case, it's not supposed to be. And then you kind of have to, some of us like maybe have to get over that a little bit, because you're so used to being like, okay, now tell me about you. And it's like, wait, no, you don't do that here.
No. Well, I mean, of course you can ask me how I'm doing, or, there's like little things that, I can connect with my clients, especially my long-term clients who it's of course they can know that I've, had a baby, or there's, things going on. But I typically it's all about the client, right? And that's what the exchange is. You're paying for this time. This is your time. Show up for you, and I'm showing up for you. And I'm really happy, kind of going back to that point that you said about like, I want to be liked. Of course, people want their therapist to like them and to see them as like a good, quote unquote, good person. And the reality is we're not a sum of our behaviors. we are not defined by what we've done or what we think or what we feel, right? Like we are all complex human beings, and we all have scary thoughts. We all have, things about ourselves that we wish we could change. Shame is a huge thing for, I don't really know somebody that doesn't have shame about something, right? And so, or self-conscious about some aspect of themselves. And so when we break it down on this really human level, who am I to judge anybody?
Right.
I'm here to, listen and to offer guidance and ways of challenging your thought. And challenging is what you're doing in your life working for you.
Yeah. I think that's actually a really awesome point that you bring up, is the whole idea of challenge. Like, something I always wonder is, people go to therapy, so you want to be liked, or you want to be validated. So you kind of, obviously a therapist is supposed to validate you, but at the same time, someone could go in and tell a story about their life that essentially just paints the picture of, they're going to tell me what I want to hear. Like, how does a therapist like assess that? I mean, some of it I imagine has to be the timing, but at the same time, like, I imagine people who want to be liked come in and they don't share the whole picture for a while. Like, stuff comes out in chunks and you're like, wait, and then, you know what I'm saying? Like, when those challenging, how do you challenge somebody, I guess, is the direct question. How do you challenge those people when you're not sure they're sharing the whole picture? And as a therapist, I imagine you're not supposed to be like, sounds like you're not telling me everything, or maybe you are. I don't know. Like, what do you do with that?
Yeah, it's such a good question. Well, I like to think of therapy as it's a relationship, just like any, there's rules of engagement, right? So I kind of say, oftentimes, like, the more information that I have, the better I can formulate my treatment plan for you and our treatment plan, and how we can come up with these goals that you want to work on. And so whatever you are willing to share, I will listen and be a sounding board for you. And I think that's like therapy 101, is creating that safe space for somebody to share. And if somebody feels judged, they're just gonna, And so really, like, laying that foundation of whatever you're here for, I'm here for. So if it's going to take 6 months to get to that place that you need to get to trust me, then that's okay. I'm on your time.
Right.
You can't do therapy wrong, right? Like, as the client, you can't do it wrong. As the therapist, I can, and I've said many times, could you go back and I'm curious about this. I have a question. Could you re-explain that for me? I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. And usually people are really open. I mean, and I try to be as disarming and non-judgmental as possible. And I truly am. I feel like that's who I am as a person. I don't, I don't judge other people.
Yeah.
That's just not like as a value. I'm like, everybody's doing their thing.
No doubt. Everybody's pretty messed up, as it turns out, in their own right. Yeah. No, I appreciate that.
Life is hard.
As it turns out.
As it turns out, life is a challenge, and life comes with a lot of pain and a lot of hurt. Yeah.
You can get into that for sure.
Yeah, I think when I started going, one of the things that encouraged me to share more was taking some of those tools that we were getting during the session and then putting them into use. And once you see something works, that positivity kind of overshadows or at least for me, overshadowed my hesitancy to share or my reluctancy to share, and it's still like, had to build to it. Like, I don't feel comfortable putting my whole self on the table for anyone right when I meet them. It's just however it is. But when you see something working,
nor should you,
right?
Because that's important. People that overshare often, struggle with like wanting that self-acceptance and not getting it. So, it's okay to not have that trust right away.
Wow, chat with a therapist. This is great. What did it feel like the first time you sat down and did a therapy session with somebody?
I probably wasn't nervous at all.
It feels like a big wall to get over.
Dude, it is. It's so funny. Yeah, it's funny that you said that. My cousin is in a therapy school program right now, and I just sent him a funny meme of you're lying awake at night. This little cartoon is lying awake at night and goes into the like filing cabinet of memories and like pulls out the first session that you ever had and then like laughs at it. So I was actually really fortunate. So I used to work at a homeless shelter. I used to work at a family homeless shelter as a paraprofessional, which is somebody that doesn't have a degree. I had a undergraduate degree in psychology, but doesn't have like the training to be a therapist.
Is that where you earned your hours?
No, it's not where I earned my hours, but I did an internship in college, and then I got a job as a family homeless shelter in San Francisco, and it was really wonderful. And I got to work with at-risk youth and their families, and I was in the children's program, and I just felt so lucky to be there and so honored that, I could help children and teens, and it was just really fun for me and very heavy, of course. But I think so. And then I worked in the alt-ed system when I first became a therapist, and so I sat down with like teens, and like teens are just great. I love working with teens. They're so cool. And I got to go on walks with them. I would literally just take them on walks, and we would just walk and talk. And so I didn't have the moment of like, okay, I am going to be a therapist now. Right. It was like, let's go for a walk.
Yeah.
I never had that.
A walk is such a good disarming way.
It's so disarming, but also it's just a conversation. Mm-hmm. Therapy is literally just a conversation.
Right.
But to your point, I think I was nervous to say something wrong or to not know how to help somebody in the beginning, because you sometimes just don't, like, what was it like to open your business on the first day, right? Like, the doors are open, here we go.
Just do stuff.
That was a little bit more of a cheat code, though, I think.
Just because we had so many years of practice watching and doing with other people?
Yeah, the thing that we'd done, aside from the opening the business part, but like, the opening, being there the first day wasn't as challenging as everything that led up to the process of being there. So actually being behind the counter, like when that happened, that was kind of the most normal thing ever.
That's your comfort
zone. The steps in between that were a little weird. It just kind of seems with the therapy, like the higher stakes version of, let's say you're training to cut someone's hair and you work with someone, you're an apprentice, and then at some point you fucking cut that person's hair by yourself and you've actually never done it before. So someone is your first victim, for lack of a better term. They're like, you're going to give someone a pretty gnarly haircut or not the best haircut. And yeah, I don't know. I think maybe the better analogy for us is kind of the first maybe the first staff meetings or the first orientations or
having to be a leader.
First time we like actually stepped in that leadership, and there was nothing above us on which we could say there's no opt out, right? It's not like, oh well, it's not us. It's like, nope, we're the end of the line. Like,
whatever we believe in.
There's this funny thing in therapy. There's this like joke, for beginner therapists, that you have this moment where you turn over your shoulder and you're like, oh, you're asking me. Like, oh, you, like, I'm the one that needs to respond. Me? Like, oh, okay, we're doing this now. You know what, to be super honest with you, I didn't have a ton of like the imposter syndrome insecurity once I started doing it. It's all the leading up to it. That you're like, when you're learning about something and then you have to apply it, it puts you in this really insecure place, because how do you know you're going to be good at something you've never done?
Absolutely.
And you don't, and you just take this leap of faith where it's like, you know what? I've seen somebody run a business. I know that I could do it better. Have you seen that hierarchy of competency, the competency hierarchy?
I don't think so.
Oh, it's good. It's really good.
No,
okay, so at the bottom, so you start with unconscious incompetency. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know that you're incompetent. So you're unconscious. You're like, I think I could do it. I think I could open a business. Mm-hmm. I think I could do this. Like, I think I could be a therapist. Okay. And then, you get to the next tier up and you're like, I am really fucking aware that I don't know anything. And so you're consciously incompetent.
Oh, I have seen this, but you're jogging my memory. This is awesome.
Yeah, like I am so I don't know anything. I am definitely an imposter. Why did I ever think I could do this? And then you have like some training wheels and you're like, okay, the next tier up is I am consciously competent. I am like, I can pedal, I'm moving forward, I'm gaining forward momentum, but like it's not on automatic yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the final tier is that you're unconsciously competent. So you can you just know it's just smooth, you're in the flow, you're just doing it and you don't have to think about it and you're not, so that I love that kind of model because it seems like if you were to put where you are about in yourself of running a business, right? You guys are probably at that point of just it's going and it's been going for 5 years.
Oh, she worked it in. She said she was gonna. Anniversary is coming up this week as you're listening, the 29th. Is that true? Yeah. Yeah, you'll be listening week up.
You guys, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would really actually self-proclaim that we're probably in tier 3 with business owning and running.
So like the
and then tier 4 with like doing the coffee shit.
Yeah.
Like that's the stuff where people are like, how did you just like it's happened like 5 times this week and just doing little things. They're like, whoa. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. That's what you'll get there too.
Totally.
Like weird stuff.
So you're consciously
when you were roasting coffee or
like, I went over to the grinder and like first try, I was like, that's like 19.9 grams and it was 19.8 grams. And they're like, oh, what? And I did it like 4 times in a row. And
yeah, that's
that kind of stuff where that is like unconsciously knowing. Like I actually don't know. I just know. Like, and then I just weighed it and I did know. And that shit's funny. Yeah. So anyway.
There's like the smallest layer that you could sandwich in between those top 2 layers, whereas the zone where you think you're consciously competent, but you're actually not yet. You're
in
that,
the dip.
Well, no, you're in that zone to where. Okay, when we went to our first barista competition, both of us had been working in the coffee industry for years at that point already. We were really into making coffee. We were really good at making coffee, and we both kind of showed up at this competition with the idea of, we fucking got this shit. Like, there's a good chance that we might even win.
The big fish, small pond problem.
Yeah, exactly. And then you show up and your eyes are fully awakened to how much you don't know.
And then, and that's like, okay, every therapist going to graduate school, like, oh, I think I could be a therapist. Then you have to unlearn everything you think you know about what therapy is. And you're like, oh, I really have no idea how to do this. And you all of a sudden are like, the small fish in the big pond.
Such a great experience.
It's being humbled is so healthy.
Oh, I hated it so much.
I'm sure you did.
I was so mad. I was like, fuck this. I'm good, I swear.
What inspired you guys to be leaders, not just like business owners, but like want to support other people?
Not being supported or feeling supported.
Isn't it crazy? And I thought you were going to have that response. Isn't it amazing how we learn what not to do? Like, from our own experience of seeing somebody else do it in the wrong way.
Mm-hmm. It's just that lack of mentorship.
We're like hitting on stuff that this is making me double take. I mean,
I just keep thinking about the frustration of like, lack of mentorship, for lack of a better term, like parenting, direct and loving feedback to help somebody grow. It's like the things that I've always felt the most shame for, and I imagine sort of you, right, with wanting to have integrity, is that you're like genuinely really trying to do a good job in like every single way. And there's no possible way to do that, right? But you don't have people seemingly who care enough about you to kind of like caringly, and this is sometimes therapy for people, so take that note, like it's a place to go to learn this stuff. But at the same time, it'd be nice for you to have like really good friends and be like, hey, this is how this is coming off. And I don't think you mean it that way, but when you do this is what happens. And this is the feelings that I'm picking up on, even though maybe I don't feel them. I feel good, but you know, the like,
you're talking about accountability.
Oh, and like in loving accountability, right? Where you can actually help other people grow.
Yeah.
But like, that's for me. And I imagine you'll echo the same thing. It's like, where the fuck were people to share that with me growing up so that I didn't have to feel like I'm becoming an adult in my last like year of life, literally right now?
Isn't it funny? You're like, when is it that you become an adult.
Yeah, it's kind of never.
Right. And honestly, my dad was somebody who just never grew up, and he worked with high school kids his entire life, and he just never grew up, and it was great. Like he never had to.
I don't kind of want to. I really believe that if you lose that childhood fun, that this whole life becomes a shit show and not cool.
Person.
Yeah, I really want that.
Yeah.
But I do also wish that we had that other thing.
I think
there's
that combination, of this playful joy where you can approach approach things that you're passionate about in a way that spurs creativity and makes you excited to engage with them, but also have someone who can point you in the right direction and tell you what's going wrong. I was just reading that salt shaker analogy, the Danny Meyer setting the table, thing, to where he talks about what your job really is when you're creating culture or leading is, there's this salt shaker that sits at the center of the table, and everybody around you, employees, and they're gonna push it in a certain direction, and you have to apply this constant gentle pressure to move it back to where it needs to be. And the way he put it just really resonates with me, because it's unlike most bosses or people in my life that I've ever had, constant gentle pressure. I'm sure a ton of people have had the experience of someone telling them, you're fucking up. Do that better, right?
Yeah.
And that's,
and then you just feel like a piece of shit and you're super sad.
Right. It's way more common than not. And it doesn't make you want to do better. It makes you want to not try.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, that was a really negative response. So the best way to keep me safe from that is to not do anything.
It just validates your failures.
All that shame gets triggered of like, I can't, I'm not worthy of this, I'm not enough. I knew I was going to mess up eventually. I knew they were going to see me for the imposter that I am. Right. And then we start performing worse with negative reinforcement.
Yeah. 100%. And I see that, and I know where it comes from on the business owner side too, on the leadership side. I get it. We're really fortunate. There's 3 of us, myself, Jared, and Charles, and we've worked to build an awesome leadership team around us. But for people who are solo business owners, and have a huge staff, like I can understand how there's a lot of pressure and a lot of things are pulling you in different directions, and how easy it could be to look at someone, just fucking do better. Just, I'm busy. Like, can you just do better? Like, what the fuck? But I think, I'm echoing exactly what you're saying, is to try to be those people, however imperfect we are, because, we're learning every day too.
No, big time. We
can't be perfect, but what we can do is we can set up the agreement and set up the culture to where it's like, hey, we're promising to make the effort. That's what we're promising to do. We're promising to do our best and to communicate when things are not going well, and to try to guide you or create a system that will guide you to the best of our ability.
And your staff, like employees, feel the if they have a respect for that, right, that effort, and they see you trying and showing up, and they feel valued, right? Like, that is amazing. How often in our lives do we get to feel valued at work?
Not often.
Not a
How
lot.
many jobs? Like, if you look back at all the jobs that you've had, and I think about all the jobs that I've had, because I worked in the service industry for years, where did I really feel valued? And like I mattered?
Yeah, I've only had one, and it was hit or miss.
I was just thinking, I was like, it all just mattered because of the ability for me to perform and do well, right? It was never like just 100% valued as, it was valued because, which doesn't help for me. I mean, I know you like get paid to play sports and do well, but to me, I want to feel valued because I want to feel valued.
As a human.
Yeah, exactly.
As a human being, not just for what you are capable of, but what you're bringing to the team, and
innately, right?
Innately, yeah, and yeah, I can see your.
I was just thinking about you.
Just my ponage.
Well, I was thinking about the idea of course people are going to value the things that you do.
Yep.
And if you are a person who's engaging with an organization, like, what you do is incredibly important. Sure. But then I think one of the things that I noticed seeing your path was you got valued for those things that you did, but only at certain times. To where when things like barista competitions would come around, or there is a collective gathering of coffee people, you really show out, and people genuinely enjoy being around you, and that is a positive, and you got positively reinforced
Big
for
time.
those times. But day in and day out, week after week, month after month, your job kind of sucked.
Yeah.
Like none of that was there in real life. It was almost like you're working for the weekend or living for that vacation.
Well, that was, I think, why it felt so weird, because it would get so hyper celebrated around those times. Like, yeah, this guy's the man. And us.
Yeah.
There was this huge dichotomy
Yeah.
of like, over here is so high and it's so wonderful, and then over here it's not fulfilling.
Yeah.
And
we don't listen. We don't want to listen to this young kid.
Yeah.
Who can't explain himself
Oh,
well.
and that's another thing, is age for some reason is synonymous with maturity, right? And like
Not in my life. Dude.
and that kind of goes to like never wanting to grow up, right? But at the same time, like, why don't we value teenagers and what they have to say? Why don't we value young adults in college, right? Like, okay, maybe they're going through some stuff. Like, that's the time in your life where you can work the hardest. That's the time in your life where you don't need as much sleep. Like, you can figure it out, and you can grind and work really hard. And if you're young and you have somebody that believes in you, wow.
Right.
Like, everybody will look back on that coach, that parent, that, teacher, the therapist, the, boss. Everybody can, like, hopefully pinpoint that person that was there for them. Even if it's like, 20, 30 years ago, everybody can say, oh, this person gave me a shot.
Thanks for listening, y'all. This podcast is an extension of our mission to inspire connection by creating memorable experiences. If you want to get more acquainted with what we do, you can go on over to catandcloud.com. There you'll find a little bit of everything. If you want coffee, we got coffee there. If you want to be directed to some other magic media, basically it's your hub for all things Cat and Cloud. If you want to dive in on a deeper level, we do have a Patreon. It's $5 a month, about the price of a latte each month. You get a peek behind the scenes of what we do here, unpacking some of the ideas that we talk about during this podcast, rants and raves, Q&As, Jared and I just talking shit together. Biased opinion, yes, but I think it's a lot of fun. So thanks for listening. Go out and inspire someone to do something amazing. Bye.